Good evening and welcome to World Poetry Day Jamaica. So we are celebrating poetry because, as we know, Jamaicans are very much poets, constantly creating and reinventing themselves. And so I'm very happy to be here as a host with my wonderful co-host and someone I've known for a long time, Malachi Smith. Malachi, say howdy to the people.
Good evening, my people and the peoples of the world. Welcome to this evening, and we're expecting a very exciting and invigorating evening of poetry.
So I want to begin with an introduction. Um, and of course, the title is Poetry Can Heal the World. The great Caribbean Bajan poet Kamal Brathwaite says, memories are smoke, lips we can't kiss, hands we can't hold, will never be enough for us. Given our brutal, traumatic genesis in this so-called New World, we are a people much like the people of the rest of the world in need of healing. Words are often bomb, words are often rock stone hurled to kill poets, words are daggers tossed to harm the spirit, words are bullet that brings chaos and fear in families, words are sexual predators. But poets understand the importance of words. Poets understand the intricacy and the nuances of language. So we use words not like weapons to hurt and destroy, but rather we use words lovingly as self reflection, as love, as salvation, as redemption, as rejoicing. Words are love and healing. And as we look over time, we will see that poetry has always been used and continues to be used as a source of strength, as a gift of love, as an oasis of hope, and as a promise of goodness. And as we poets take on this banner to heal the world, to heal climate change, to heal the world of urban development that is barring us from the beaches and shutting us off from the hills and Blue Mountain, as it is happening here in Jamaica. Port development, the mining of bauxite that we know will pollute our water, the desires for massive highways that are destroying our hills and verdant landscapes. More now than ever, we poets have to consciously go about healing ourselves, healing our society, using words to reach out to people across class and race, religion, gender, to say we must work together and we must come together to heal us from the historical trauma of enslavement and colonialism, to heal us from the wanton violence and genocide and gender based violence, to heal us from disconnection with ourselves. So, this gathering today on World Poetry Day, when Jamaican poets come on to celebrate each other and to celebrate the word, let our words touch you in that soft place so that you can remember who you are. As we are remembering and reminding ourselves that we are one people on this one earth. So we invite you to listen and let our poetry lift and heal and navigate you to a space where we can all touch hands and embrace one another. In writing about poetry, Claude McKay, the Jamaican poet, celebrated in the Harlem Renaissance and much cited for his scathing sonnet, If We Must Die, wrote a poem about poetry. And here is what Claude McKay says. Sometimes I tremble like a storm-swept flower, and seek to hike my tortured soul from thee, bowing my head in deep humility before the silent thunder of thy power. Sometimes I flee before thy blazing light, as from the spectre of pursuing death. Intimidated lest thy mighty breath windways will sweep me into utter night. For oh, I fear they will be swallowed up, the loves which are to me of vital worth, my passion and my pleasure in the earth, and lost forever in thy magic cup. I fear, I fear my truly human heart will perish on this altar stone of art. So I think, that poem by Claude McKay really sums up the reverence of poetry that he holds and that I think many of us hold, that we don't take what we do lightly. And when we share, it is not simply just with arrogance, but it is to connect you and us. And so I would be remiss if I didn't also read a poem by another Jamaican poet, Louise Bennett. And this is The Scholar, and it's one of many of my favorite poems by Louise Bennett. But I think in this poem, she so artfully is letting the teacher know and letting everyone know the value of learning and the value of her child, and that her child, like poetry, should be treated with reverence. New Scholar. Good morning, teacher. How you is? My name is Sarah Poole. This is for me little boy Michael, and me just bring him a school. Him born one rainy day, ma'am. It was coming on tonight. Ugly baby grow pretty for true, for this one was a sight. Him born the week when Rufus jackfruit tree did start for beer. Is that same month Obi Pig dead, but me fight the year. But me forget the year. We call him Mike, Mikey, Mikey, Jakey, Jacob, Jack, but him right name is Michael Jacob Alexander Black. Not treat him rough, ya teacher. Him is a sickly child. And you touch him hard, him make nice. Some people say him poil. Take time with him, ya teacher. If him rude and start to rave, just beat another boy, and him will frighten and behave. For enough time when him rude a yard and wouldn't hear me at all, I just beat the bedpost hard, ma'am, and you want to hear Jack bawl. Now that you know him little ways and not having no fear that anything way me make him so will left him in your care. And so, this is one of Bennett's lovely, lovely poem that is also a celebration of what we're doing here tonight in terms of World Poetry Day. So I want to welcome you, and now I want to turn it over to Malachi, who will also issue a welcome to you.
Thank you, Opal. Good evening. I am honored to be co-hosting this most important event with the esteemed Professor Opal Palmer Adisa. Because more now than ever, our world and the peoples of our world need healing. The type of healing that poets and poetry provide. For while medicine and related sciences and therapies provide some cures for ailments, it is the word, that is poetry, that provides the soothing magic that heals minds, bodies, and souls. The entire being by touching areas of the human person that cannot be penetrated by medicine. Driving through St. Elizabeth and the island of Jamaica recently, I couldn't help but notice how brutally dry the land was. That beautiful blue spread as one descended Spurtree Hill to the plains was replaced with a sparse brown spread. The land is dry, trees are dying. The land is dry, animals are dying. The land is dry, people are dying for thirst. Our poets are now called into action to be the healers with your magic portions of the word, poems, the medicine that the world and its people need in this time. Writing in philosophy today, Diane Robb states, writing poetry can be healing and transformative because poems reflect the voice of the soul. Writing poetry is also a way to nurture a mindfulness practice because when writing poems, we have the chance to unleash the unconscious mind. Sculpturing our feelings and thoughts into a poem can take us on a journey where the conscious mind actually takes a little holiday. Let's use our collective voices to heal, to mend, to inspire positive thoughts and action. Poets, let's heal the world with our poems. And I want to read from Jeffrey Philp, a very good friend, his recent collection, Archipelagos. And this poem speaks to what this day is all about. Oh, yeah, awakened. When the pressure dropped and Ira's wrath shifted towards the Keys, lifting dust she had carried from the Sahara, startlings crowded into the eaves of our house. And as we waited in the candlelit dark, the storm surge reached over the seawall. Winds howled through our shutters like the waves of African trapped in the hold of slaves that followed the same route as these hurricanes. The trees bore the blunt of our wrath. Only a live oak, blasted off its leaves, stood naked in a cluster of banyans, whose uprooted roots gasped at the sun, while the easy glide of turkey buzzards over through canals revealed the sudden beauty of clearings across the skyline. And my final piece that I'm going to read is Poor Man's Orchid from Gloria Escoffery's collection, Mother Jackson Murders the Moon. My struggle to communicate with you is no more than a pencil drawing of a piece of nature that by tomorrow will have almost faded from memory. The magenta that pulse in this flower demands but wiser resist capture. Put away your watercolor set, my dear. It will serve no useful purpose. Welcome to World Poetry Day. Opal is back to you.
Welcome indeed. We're so very happy that you could all join us. We're very grateful for the poets who have signed up. We know that we're all in for a wonderful treat. And I think Malichi is going to start off by introducing his first poet and sharing the bio.
Okay, the first poet I'm going to introduce is someone I have enormous respect for. Cherry Natural, born Master Wedderburn, is a Jamaican dub poet, author, motivational speaker, and a self-defense instructor. She has published 3 books of poems and is a recipient of the Mutabuka Award for Best Spoken Word at the International Reggae and World Music Awards in 2019. Cherry's poetry focuses on the everyday experiences of Jamaican life. Lorna Goodison said of her book, The Lyrical Cantatonist, Cherry Natural's powerful new strong woman anthems are guaranteed to strengthen and lift up the fallen. It is my pleasure to introduce to you my good friend Cherry Natural.
Yeah, man, give thanks, give thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So the first one I'm going to do some poems that I've written a long time, you know. So the first one I'm doing is All Over Again. You can get lost or end up lonely in a world that chooses profit over community. We need to touch, to feel, to share the simple human contact that keeps hope alive and ground us into the real. It's hard to strive to survive through a machine. Social distance makes loneliness an epidemic. We wear masks, put up guards, hide behind the facade of our so-called independence, denying the desires of our natural existence. We have all made mistakes that have brought us pain. We hurt people we know, say yes when we wanted to say no. Fear has kept us afraid. We have been lied to, we have been betrayed, manipulated, criticized behind our backs. We have had our hearts broken, egos crushed, dreams shattered, and yes, we can bounce back and use pain as a motivation to start all over again. Give thanks. And the next one is called Send the Poem Come. Send the poem come. You have this whole heap of words that suppress inside of you. It might have fly up in your head and mad you too. As the lyrics them come, write them down. As the lyrics them come, write them down. When pain rock your soul and illusions take over your dreams, give your thoughts permission to scream. Most things in life come with a price. Words come to me free. When rules, norms, and regulation pull me in all different directions, them act as cushions. Farm fence bar out intruders, I'll take blows so me don't have broke bones. And even if the world a fall apart, I feel safe inside my heart. Just a cut and go through, sharp edge rhymes laced with political meaning, claiming but not explaining. No style, no rhythm, no discipline, no imagery, no magic. Raw, free spirit, come to challenge your frozen rhetoric. Conservatives for know, them for low it, make it grow, it done a show. Your circumcised vision cannot damage this one. So charge me for lyrical treason. Me still have to exercise my poetic license. Desires and fire. Right now we need 2 more poems to inspire. So take a lazy ass poem there for the paper and make we chant it like a mantra. Work to be done, send the poem come. Work to be done, send the poem come. This are no Anglo-Saxon English. Some of them words, yeah, you know, find in a Oxford or Webster. Words decorated in a native tongue I come from deep down a belly bottom. Work to be done, send the poem come. Work to be done, send the poem come. Away it do, they could lock it up in a book. Dust and cobweb, I feed them loss. Meanwhile, poems are cohabitate. The poet a masturbate. Work to be done, send the poem come. Work to be done, send the poem come. Give thanks.
Your time, Opal.
Oh, okay. So my first poet that I'm going to introduce is a young, wonderfully aspiring, I know him as an actor first, but Joma Tafari is an aspiring young writer who is passionate about using poetry to go beyond the limits of cultural memory. A seasoned actor, his love for poetry stemmed from his love for the stage and time spent doing character work, which he considered an opportunity to resolve tensions within himself. He has since grown to embrace poetry writing as a similar opportunity to resolve tensions around sexuality, identity, and sanctity. Tensions he feels he has inherited through language but refuses to accept. Joma Tafari.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Let me just start off by saying I am beside myself this evening, primarily because a young 14-year-old Joma Dixon was a part of a drama group performing Cherry Natch in the poem Come, and having words like those words at that young age was very meaningful and what do you call it, instrumental to the foundations for the love for poetry. So I'm very much beside myself this evening as I'm sharing a space with so many so many great names and persons who've done the work. Let me begin with a poem that I think captures the tail end of what I think Miss Natural Form just said a while ago. It's called Thanks to Latoya and Leslie. It is always the Yoruba women who find me, hiding, lying, buried by myself. It is always their hands that dig through conversations, mining for gems they know are there. And when they find me, they bring me to ocean, cleansing me with words, emptying my conscience into Yamaya. It is always these women who remind me to not keep Aisha waiting when they ask, are you doing the work? Thank you. This other piece, I think it's a call again for the work based on what I've seen and I understand that word. So this is that's very me. I know that it is Zion.
Joma, for some reason your sound has gone a little distorted. Start again, please, with this second poem. We heard the first one very clearly.
Good now? All is well? Excellent. All right, sorry about that. All right, here we go. Jenkul nyame mi kan mile. The Most High see and know that the eye is Zion's child. But dry was the valley and dim was the light, so you fix it, Jah. Lent the eye the lamb's sight. But death's shadow too dark for the eye two eyes, so only a third could see the eye through the light. To resurrect the flock in moonlight, the prodigal beard, with staff and rod in hand, through the middle passage him weird. A parted stream in between, so a hoops of truth might pass. Them alone see straight who for eyes them did cross. So as Babylon self-destruct, the Bai will instruct the Bai for to reconstruct the flow of the fish through the Nile. Sight by the lamb, sight by the will lead the swimming on of the drowned heart and mind through to sweet, sweet Zion. And I should pause here to say real quick that much of this work has been an attempt to kind of reconcile what was an academic understanding of myself with a lived experience type of understanding. And so the healing that I found that I had to do was resolving those internal aspects of myself, you know? And I think this.
Hang on a second, please. I would invite everyone, Andrea and others who are not on, to please close mute. Thank you so much.
The poem was a catalyst of need to re-visualize myself. It says, she dried leaves, she crushed the ginger, she put her pot of tea. She smiling, she said, believe still and be pure. But I see no remedy in her hot water and bush, just see wishful. A desperate woman steeped in mist, poisoned by the hope. It wasn't until she that the truth revealed. Slave brewed by that.
Jomo, we lost some of that because again your audio went kind of funny. Let's see if maybe we could try one more time that last piece.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Third time is the charm. I will not be silent. I refuse. All right, here we go. Mother's Day. She dried the leaves, she crushed the ginger, she put on her pot of tea. She poured a cup, she took a sip, smiling, she said to me, belief kill and belief cure. But I could see no remedy in her hot water and bush, just steam and wishful thinking. I saw a desperate woman steeped in mist, poisoned by the hope she kept drinking. It wasn't until she died that the truth was revealed. Though she warned, it was too late. Her death long brewed by the doubt that I believed. Yes. And for me, that's a very sad poem, but it reminds me not to doubt myself because one of the persons who believed in my writing the most was my mother. And so in a very sad but meaningful way, that memory to not doubt, you know, has been with me. I don't know if I have time for one last one. I promise it's tiny, it's short. I'm just really excited. All right, here we go, the last piece. And this was my first attempt to really my first attempt at taking writing seriously. Just come out of a conversation with my mentor. I just returned from studying abroad and I came home and I felt like I had fresh eyes and I had a lot to say about the Jamaican context, a lot that I needed to resolve, but I just could not find the words. So I wrote a poem. Looking out at the downtown blue, I squint to see this poem, as if I'm not a poet, as if my mind needs more time to adjust to the sight of ships obstructing as many markets as waves. Suddenly, it's New Year's Eve 2K3. They tell me, the car is full, you can't come. I cry because I'm stuck at home, longing to see the fireworks from the waterfront. Perhaps now my mind hasn't grown, so it expects the sun to explode, satisfying the innocence from 2K3 that dreamt each night of how pretty fireworks must look or how pleasing writing by sight must be. Yet, peering out, my mind searches the scene, struggling to see myself written somewhere in between the insanity of these words, like these waves that flow but never reach a point. To deny myself the right to write justifies being stuck on this rock, stuck with writer's block, stuck with what sometimes still feels like childish dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Jomo, for a wonderful reading. Nice poems that you shared with us. Thank you. Let's applaud him in whatever way we can. Thank you. Malachi, I'm turning it over to you to introduce your next poet.
Yes, and I just want to do this real quick. I just want to acknowledge a few persons who have joined us, in particular, the Honorable Peter Gracie, who is the Jamaica Diaspora representative for the Southern United States, and also as one of the police commanders who is in the house too. I'm very happy that persons from those ranks are joining and sharing the joy of poetry. My next reader is Wise Word. Wise Word is from the new breed of dove poets and spoken word artists on the scene who are breathing new life into the local poetry scene. He discovered that he had a love for music and entertainment at an early age, which led him to sing and act in roots play at school. He also had a knack for writing, spelling, essays, and literature on a whole. In 1994, he was introduced to veteran reggae singer Tristan Palmer, who took him to Jack Scorpio recording studio, where he started to write and produce songs. Since he was denounced as a singer, he learned to further express himself by writing poetry, highlighting social consciousness, the spirit of love, and deep motivation. Wise Word.
Thank you so much, Malachi. Thank you so much, Madam Adisa. And of course, greetings to all the poets and all those who join this cast. Since the time is limited, I'll just cut them short. This one is called Smile. Recently written, so the ink has not dried yet on the paper. Disappointment can be a deterrent to derail dreams, but I've never stepped back even though I've had setbacks, surviving the toughest of time with a half-broken smile, mended mindset, mingling around unseen problems, crawling back to go forward. But a smile provides a glimmer of hope through the walls of pain. Over and over a smile, day in, day out a smile, time after time a smile. And when me walk, when me run, me a smile. And if me turn up and sit down, me a smile. Me just a smile, me just a smile. The hurt we suffer, a promising result will come from a smile. When the sunshine fails to break through the darkest of clouds, a smile ignites a flame of undying warmth. Practice to smile and let your jaws extend beyond its margin of elasticity. Smile if you're down. Smile to replace a frown. Smile big to make others live. Day in, day out, a smile. Time after time, a smile. Over and over, a smile. And if me walk, if I run, then a smile. And if me turn up and sit down, me a smile. Me just a smile. Me just a smile. Yeah, so that was Smile. This one is called a wishful poem. I wish I could write a poem with no lines, no rhymes, no verse, just words. Words with jagged edges, having no emotions, yet piercing through thoughts, trying to dissect, demystify, discern. I wish I could write a poem without persuasion, yet command a force of action, creating a subtle pathway for the wild, wild west to become docile. I wish I could write so badly to intrigue others to read so well, telling stories, lack of colors, but purely painting pictures worthy of a deeper interest. I wish I have the ability to let the ink of my pen drip like a broken faucet, flowing freely, fountain-like, and create the unthinkable with direct intention to evade painful memories and stir laughter. Shapeless words, meaningless words, colorless words, exciting words, that will help you to catch a curveball, words to raise you from a pitfall. I wish I could write that poem to arouse your interest and make you read all the while, upgrade the consciousness of the world with a plethora of smiles. Find within you that nonsensical poem that poets will not consider to be poetic, and write without fear, but expect to be deemed as big and black, tall and fool, book for fully done, swollen nose, big foot, broad nose, hungry gut. Write your story, a novel or a sonnet that you probably won't remember, but others won't forget. Write your poem. Well, my last piece now. You know, I have to big up Cherry Natural because Cherry said, pretty speaking, can run jam down in our poem. And sometimes we have to just come as raw as ever. This piece is called 2-Foot Puss. Say make we run, because a 2-foot puss them a come. Then take your bank account and give your blank account. Then tell me how them do it, all the money where them thief make we run. Because a 2-foot puss them a come. One more, make we run. Because a 2-foot puss them a come. Then take your bank account and give your blank account. Then tell me how them do it, all the money where them thief make we run. Because a 2-foot puss them a come. I know yesterday thief in a guan. Long before me and your barn, white collar criminal a raid the barn. Rubbing shoulders and a mingle. Grin them teeth while I do them a swindle. Them a thief everything from 0 to naught. But how many of these 2-foot pussy ever get caught? When you're broke, them relegate you to luggage. But as you find wealth, like worm, them wiggle in your cabbage. But in this fiery financial fiasco, can I bank on you now? I think my interest in you have just been bankrupt. So make we run, because the 2-foot post them a come. Then take your bank account and give your blank account. Then tell me how you do it, all the money where your teeth make we run. Because the 2-foot post them a come. Then how them so greedy? Never know say a wheelchair could have moved so speedy. Binoculars are peep in your account like overnight watchman. And money disappear in record time. Seem like the financial sector get cold. So when you see the 2-foot puss, you feel bold. This society are two-faced setting. Only when things look bad, government step in. The man who picked the hockey because hungry take him, find himself in a workhouse sweating. But the billion-dollar mafia, they refuse to catch him. You remember Tetrack? Them are 2-foot puss. You remember Finsack? Them are 2-foot puss. Try no bother blink. Your money disappear in a wink. You know, see all 2-foot puss a whole lot brings. So make we run, because the 2-foot puss them a come. Then take your bank account and give your blank account. Cherry, tell me how them do it, all the money with them teeth. Make we run, because the 2-foot puss them a come. Use your imagination and pluralize puss, because I will heap of them. My money can't pass the embankment, and that is a must. How can we forget the underdog schemas from Cash Plus? Puss and dog not have the same luck. Just when you think your money is safe, you just get, don't ask no. But the pockets of the people are used as cash cows, milking the calcium from your dollar sign. So watch where you put your savings, because them are 2-foot puss, you're too craving. Malichi run, because the 2-foot puss them a come. Then take your bank account and give your blank account. Then tell me how them do it, all the money with them teeth make we run. Because the 2-foot puss them a come. 2-foot puss them a come. Thank you so much. Until next time, give thanks.
Give thanks indeed. That was just wonderful. You know, you had us all smiling. I could just see that. So big up, Wise,
Thank
indeed.
you, madam.
Yes. So now I want to introduce the next poet. First, I just want to give a shout out. I see that Dr. Asa Weir Soli is online, a Jamaican poet, someone who goes way back from Berkeley. We did the first Caribbean erotic book anthology that we edited some many years ago. So big up Asa Weir Soli. And I see that Anika Rowe, who is my right hand with the Louis Bennett Festival, is also on, and our poet had her first poem published in the 100 Plus Voices for Miss Lou, so I want to salute both of them. Coming up next is Ruth Howard. And Ruth is someone who I really like and admire. She's full of energy, she's full of bubble and love. Ruth is a writer, a women's right and gender justice advocate with with an MSc in Gender Development Studies from the UWI, the Institute for Gender Development Studies. She's a 2022 Governor General Achievement Award for Excellent recipient and a 2022 World Plus Top 50 Rising Voices awardee and Jamaica's 2021 Ubuntu United Nations delegate. Ruth works as a program manager for WMW Jamaica, We Talk for Reduction of Gender Violence projects, which takes an innovative approach to behavior change as a means to reducing gender-based violence through a combination of research, stakeholders engagement, communications campaign, and capacity building. Please help me in welcoming Ruth Howard.
Thanks, Prof. Hi, everybody. Good night. Let me just ensure that everybody can hear me properly before I go any further. Can you all hear me well? Just somebody confirm, please.
I'm hearing you well, so I'm assuming that everyone else is.
I am too.
Awesome. All right. So poetry for me is a tool for healing because it enables self-expression. You know, writing is very cathartic. It literally helps you to release strong emotions. And I think that's one of the ways that poetry heals the world. So the poems that I'm about to share are poems that I hope persons can relate to. They're very, very personal for me, but I think that probably makes them more relatable for everybody. So the first one is called To Find Oneself. And I wrote it in 2007, which is very long ago. And it's a very short poem that I wrote because I was just seeking. So it says, I need to find myself amidst all this empty drifting, to pour my heart into a bowl and do some careful sifting. What I need is to be absolutely free. What I need is to be totally, completely me. In times of greatest conflict, writing comes easiest to me. End poem. So that was, a poem I wrote to just express how writing helps me to find myself. And this other poem is called I Owe Me an Apology. I will say no more. I'll just read it. I owe me an apology for idle time, fearful freezes, mountains of unnecessary melancholy. I owe me an apology for powerlessness, helplessness, restlessness, a frightened, leaden tongue, intentionally blind eyes, and scared visionlessness. I owe me an apology for discomfort embraced, not challenged, not refuted, not discarded. I owe me an apology for inherited pressure, obligatory self-criticism, too many years spent loathing being me. I owe me an apology. And I wrote that because I was experiencing a shift from, a shift into advocacy. And so the next couple poems that I'm going to read here, not that many, are speaking on just helping others and being more in society than just, serving self. So this one is actually called Prayer for the Self. Dear God, I pray this feeling never goes away. I pray I feel this agony each and every day. I pray I feel their pain. I pray their cries burn my heart. Let me live the solution. Let me live the situation till I find a solution. Give me no peace and give me no sleep. Make me desperate and make me restless. Let my respiration be filled with desperation till I find the solution. Help me to find me. This next one is called Don't Bury Me. For all the persons who people would like to bury who are not dead yet. Don't bury me. I'm not dead yet. There's too much life in this body for me to give room to regret. There's too much left to do and too much time to do it in. Too much in me still dances. Too much inside me still laughs and sings. I know I've made many mistakes that you may never forget, but don't bury me. I'm not dead yet. And this final one is about rising again. I have learned to fully embrace life and all of its agony. It never leaves me dry. It never leaves me empty. I count myself a blessed woman in the presence of adversity. It unleashes fierce resolve and births nuclear power within me. If I should stop and think of all the times I've grown the most, persecution, desperation, affliction were almost always the hosts. Growth and change do come, but they come at a very great cost. Hindsight teaches the gain of suffering always outweighs the loss. My tears nourish my resilience. I weep, I rise, I'm better. My fears, once conquered, ignite a woman with the heart of a warrior. I fight, I win, I fight again. I never come undone. Indomitable, broken, unafraid, ignorance lost, wisdom won. I see you struggling now in agony's path. You think this is your end. Mark my words. I know this cycle. I promise you'll rise to win again. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth, for those self-reflection and moving away from what was negative or what wasn't affirming into that wonderful space. Malachi, I turn it over to you.
Words sound really have power, Opal. Thank you, Ruth Ann. Of course, I have to say a big up to my brother from Poets Unity today, Tamlin Ellis in the house, and my blood brother, Donald Smith, the Right Reverend. Welcome, sir. As we move along, this is a poet that I have enormous respect for. I invited him to join the Jamaica Poets Nomadic College and School Tour last year, and he got on board, and it was a hit with the students. Curtis Myrie specializes in media and marketing and is an award-winning television producer. Poetry is a passion from his high school days. That is very short, but this is a man that is very deep and was actually part of the dub poetry movement in the late 70s. Superstar sportscaster then at RGR. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, help me welcome Curtis Myrie.
Thank you, Malachi. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Good. Greetings, everyone. This is World Poetry Day. Let's engage it. Let's embrace it, because it's a day, a critical day of reflections, and it's a significant day of expressions. My first poem is called Kyambada. Doesn't it bother you the least? The indifference mounted when silence cannot be counted. Each and every time you should be raising alarm about repeating harm. Have you never a fleeting moment ever looked into the mirror, right past the image you see, blinking at the shadows at whom you should really be? After you fix your dress, your shirt, your hair, are you still proud of the selfie taken, full of life, but not yet awakened, remaining oblivious to all that is happening? Are you just going by, hurrying by, right past the news, noting, but not acknowledging the blues? Center stage act of being detached, though the pictures taken portray surrounding images attached. Do you truly think you are really removed, unmolested by being unmoved. Feel you are always protected by saying nothing, going in, locking your door, and nothing are gonna happen. Lifelong member of the households that can't bother. Staying out of the way might not prevent you being overtaken someday. My next piece is called In Blackie, and we know that mark. We do know that mark. Childhood taunt, adult haunt, black and ugly like sin, scathing tongue lash across my mind for the color of my skin, piercing wound you try to inflict within, in black and him nose so big, good for nothing else than for bend him back and dig. Picnic still pan the plantation, equality eludes each and every generation. Even when you bleach, you're never within reach. In Blackie, yes, and it matter, deep color of my dignity to keep splashing against the pale canvas of your insecurity, your hypocrisy. In Blackie, proud of it, proud of it, and it matter. All lives do. But have you ever believed it's true? This here poem is my next poem. Difficult to pen. Not care how much time it take you round the bend. Starting at your mind, moving past that, you struggle for write a line. Hickory, dickory, dock. Mouse running up, can't tell time pan any clock. Buzzing sound before the blast. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Social load must explode. This your poem, yeah. Up every minefield road. Up the street when I have no sign. We are all more safely led. By who we say blind? This your poem you never put on. All when you can't find your speech and your tongue. This your poem that stress you, make you cuss bad word. Poem that's pulse, that keeps on beating. Passions that keep mounting. Protest peace that keeps sounding. Tick, tock, tick, tock. All right, Malachi, I'm closing with this one called The Movies of My Mind. 24/7 cinema, taking hard box. 24/7 cinema, taking hardboard box seats to the movies of my mind. Me alone in the full house, feature movie with plenty intermission, cause it's cliffhanging story of sheer determination. Frame by frame pictures of wheel and come again. Can't go up the street without go round the bend. Draw brakes, but you can't stop. Buck your toe, but you can't drop. Movies will buy a ticket every day for say. When pressure mount, every time pound way. Main attraction of all that's filmed inside. Me alone in the full house. Attentive audience to the movies of my mind. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Malachi, you should just go ahead and introduce Jace. I don't see Anne marked on yet.
Okay. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Curtis, so much for those wonderful words.
Yes, this feast is wonderful. Judith Falloon Reed is an author, poet, filmmaker, actress, and inspirational speaker. Born and raised in Jamaica, she has authored several books, including Inspiring Antarctica, a coffee table book that chronicles her journey as the first Jamaican woman. She's a heroine, right, to visit Antarctica and Antarctica Adventures with a Jamaican and Ice, a children's book. She's the writer and director of 4 award-winning Jamaica faith-based films. Ladies and gentlemen, world, help me welcome my friend Judith Falumi.
Thank you, Malachi. I'm totally enjoying this feast. So I'm just gonna do 2 pieces for you. And the first one was a piece that was commissioned, or the Montego Bay Marine Park asked me to write this for Beach Cleanup Day, to help us to recognize what garbage does to our communities. And it's called Garbage Runs. Garbage runs. Garbage runs from the heights of the hills overlooking bright pink flowers and singing birds. Garbage runs. Plastic bag wrapped up and tied, filled with human waste and thrown into our valleys where not even junker want to eat. Garbage runs. Juice box, pint bottle, plastic bottle, lunch box, baby nappy filled with shaving cream, piled up against the remains of Mass Joe Old Cartina, relics not yet scavenged by the scrap metal man. Rain fall like trouble. Rain fall like trouble. Rain fall like trouble. And garbage runs. Washed into our rivers where Jenga suffocates and Busso hold on tight to slimy rocks for dear life because garbage runs. Sulfates and sulfides, insecticides and pesticides, carbonites and other ites seeping through our soil, poisoning the very earth. And Mother Earth shakes and retches when she gives birth to food contaminated vegetation that will one day box you upon your head side as cancer ravishes the body of yet another innocent soul. Exercise. Run, 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 run all you want, but sometimes you can't run fast enough because garbage runs. Garbage running 100 meter against Bolt and winning, 200 against the beast and winning, jumping hurdles like an Olympian on its way down our rivers and into our blue, blue sea, where coral reefs sneeze and cough and choke on the stench. Algae smiles and thrives and fish swim belly up in the garbage that runs into the crystal clear, sweet, sweet water of the cockpit country, where streams turn into rivers and rivers into cesspools, where children bathe and man piss, clothes wash and boys fish, and garbage runs. And man burn down the tree to make coal, scraping away our hillsides, robbing our land of trees, then tossing away unwanted parts that block rivers and towns as the tone of Lucy cries, why? And animal carcasses float bloated before our very eyes, mixed and mingled with the garbage, heading for the finish line, neck and neck with doom into the blue, blue sea.
Garbage runs. Yeah.
And if you visit the Montego Bay Marine Park, which you probably should, you'll see a copy of this on the wall because they do school tours and it's part of what they use to help the children recognize that they're not supposed to throw the garbage everywhere. This other one I wrote in a classroom while on the tour because every time I asked the students about Black history, they would tell me about slavery. So I get vexed one day and I wrote this, and I think this poem has helped to change some minds. It's called Black Before Time. Our history did not begin with slavery. It began with mighty Nubian queens and kings, emperors, pharaohs, and glorious things. It began in a garden, a story untold, a continent so rich our ancestors lined their chariots with gold. To confuse us and misuse us, they divide us and deride us, teaching us that the browner the skin, the more we will win, the less the melanin, the richer the thing, forcing it into our psyche till we all bleach out with skin. Pitting brother against brother in a fight to be seen as equal, but better. House slaves treated with less disdain, yet forgetting that slaves they still remain. But our history did not begin with slavery. It did not begin on a ship. Our history transcends voyages on ill-fated trips, more than savagery and pain, more than jungles and dancing in the rain. We were the creators of the alphabet, while the West was still illiterate. The first calendar man ever knew was created in Egypt 5,000 years ago.
Builders of pyramids and sphinx, modern engineers still can't think. A legacy rich with science and math. We charted civilization's original path. Our history did not begin with slavery. Don't let them trick you with tomfoolery. Our history did not begin with slavery. Thank you very much, Mr. Malichi.
Thank you so much, Judith. We needed that as part of the healing. Opal, it's over to you.
All right. I don't see Anne Margaret Lim unless she is under another name. Anne Margaret, if you are on, just identify yourself, please. Otherwise, we will. Hello. Okay. Whoever's mic is open, could you please mute? All
She
right.
just did.
Okay. So I don't see Anne Margaret. You don't see her either, do you? Okay. Well, we will keep it rolling. I think if you're just joining, I just want to welcome you again to World Poetry Day Jamaica, where we're celebrating poets who heal the world with their words. And so we're very glad for that. And we've been live streaming on Facebook, and this will be turned into YouTube. So if you missed the first part, then you will have an opportunity to hear the poets who've gone before: Joe Matafari, Ruth Ann Howard, Cherry Natural, Wise Words, Curtis, Judith. We were waiting for Anne Margaret Lim, but she hasn't come. So we'll go to Malichi.
My pleasure. Wasn't thinking of doing this piece, but somehow it's seeped into my psyche. The face, as I'm beginning this process of somewhat remembering me. Me, man. Yes, I am the same one, the same Ashanti, the same European, the same Dahomian. I come from Congo. I Mandingo from Gold Coast, from Niger. I come from the Nile. Yes, me, man, the same one who dipped from your ship in the Middle Passage. You thought this man was dead. No, man, I am the face of the waves, old and gray as the sea, with eyes deep and black at the moment when the sea gods rescued me. When you feel the rain, it's not God crying, it's me. My scars hurting. Look up, I am the face of the clouds, black as the belly of the sea. I am the man in the wind, the hurricane from the Canary, the eye with walls of lightning and thunder. I come every summer. I am African, can't deal with your winter. You thought this face was dead. No, man. I am the glow above the pines, the young sun that eagled Sunday at Augusta. I come to build pyramids. I am Tiger, not Turner, Ashley, come Martin, Rodney, Tossant, Macandel, Mandred, Scott Garvey, Jimmy Tosh, Marley. I am Nanny, Harriet Tubman, Bethune Cookman, Miss Lou, Queen Rosa, Althea Gibson, Shirley Chisholm. I am the warrior who refused to live in chains, who refused to let you rape my sister, who spoke with the blade, who denied you the pleasure. I dipped from your ship and I am still swimming, still surviving. I am the face. Thank you.
You're not reading another one, Malichi?
But of course,
all right, I'll
thinking
read
of
one and then you can come in. So I'm going to read two poems. I still don't see Anne Margaret Lim. I'm going to read two short poems from my new collection, The Storyteller Return, and I'm doing shameless plugging. If you don't have it, you should. And it's called This Is the Way You Make a Home. Sit under a tree and negotiate the stories inside your head. Peel the yam and make sure its skin doesn't itch. Take the pot from the stove with your bare hands. Caress your body and let your fingers spill pleasure. Grandma warns. When your neighbor say you go on like you don't answer, where you go on, you don't answer, someone calls your name in the dark. Better than them tell you full respect, bounty, with with them but never invite them over. Duppies know every crevice of a nice house and will strive to evict you. Don't sleep in your bed on the night of the full moon. Home will trace you up the cotton tree from where you must retrieve your totem. Turning to. Kneeling on her bed, she gazed at the sunflowers that grew outside by her window. Some days their petals covered the floor of her room. Pressed against the orange tree where her navel string has been buried, the storyteller showed them the sugar planted in their teeth, the ticks snaking through their blood, the distorted mirror where they would not recognize themselves, and the arrogant God who stomped on their ancestors. Mother's love, as enchanting as a bird of paradise, makes home a honey safe place. Malika, I'll turn it over to you, and then
Good.
we'll have one more each.
Papine. Zup, 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 zup. La 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 la. Celebrating a Jamaican spring morning, cool FM dishing sweet soul melodies, antioxidant, eliminating free radicals from the stream. Constant spring rises in the distance like flute notes, starbursts on the sweet my gaze. Her green roof stretch can't cover the fire rustling fence of her neighbors. Gully bank stripped of their identity. Nothing grows now, not even the living dead who refuses to move to higher ground. A minibus of noise invades my solitude. Black bad man tunes, rapid firing, beautiful people packed like sardines, can't breathe. They see ugly, feel ugly, hear ugly, hoping the next stop is Papine, living dead, stay silent while the knives are bust up them head. Tired of hearing the same old wash-up cartel and gully bank stuff. They rap, sell, feed, inject into conscious cognitive centers. Want to hear rain, tongue licking, zing fence, room belly clean, finding groove tracing, igniting, lightning, thunder streams of warmth that only rain God tongue can feel. Want to see a dragon fly kissing a rainbow high up over blooming poinsettia, as psychedelic as a Marley spliff full on a mystic morning. Turn on the nights. Increase the positive vibes and this tropical soft-lit morning. Want to hear waves lashing, bashing, crashing, caressing across Robin's Bay, melodies of love and happiness. I turn up my stereo and don't stop the destruction. La 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 la. La, 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 la. And I think I'm going to do a dub. I'm going to do a dub. I'm tempted to do a dub. Look at the cast this class. May I? Concrete jungle, we can't humble. Like a lion, we can't afford to stumble. Them have a tongue, all we have is grumble. Run with the ball, we can't afford to fumble in Adisa. In Adisa, concrete jungle. This is the picture. Everybody hiding, concrete dumpling, rock stone dining, life fire on the street. And that is what we walking. No shoes, power footing, poverty we drowning, acid water. And that is what we drinking. Come down, Father, come see the movie we shooting in Adisa. In Adisa, concrete jungle, we can't humble. Like a lion, we can't afford to stumble. Them have a tongue, all we have is grumble. Run with the ball, we can't afford to fumble. In Adisa, concrete jungle. Can't walk a night, man. Lick off your head up, tongue, assault, black, and me say, our own red, you eat whole wheat, we feed pan lead, you have your millions, all we have is dread, eat concrete food, sip that concrete bed, wear concrete clothes, sport concrete dread. You have to be a whaler, not to be a failure, wear a pacemaker to fully undertaker in Adisa, concrete jungle. We can't humble like a lion. We can't afford to stumble. Them have a tongue, all we have is grumble. Run with the ball. We can't afford to fumble in Adisa. In Adisa, when we make love that a fire, we stop pray for God now answer. When is that murder, is manslaughter, bloody martini, that we suffer, when I know we mother, we father, when I know we sister, we brother, fam, this year twister, there is no shelter, you have to have an anchor, you have to have an anchor to survive, and in this year, concrete jungle, we can't humble, like a lion, we can't afford to stumble, them have with tongue, all we have is grumble, run with the ball, we can't afford to fumble, in this year, all pirates, yes, they rabbi, go like to a merchant ship, minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hands were made strong by the hands of the Almighty. In this way forward in this generation, triumphantly. Won't you help me sing in this these songs of freedom? That's all I ever had. Redemption song. These songs of freedom. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. Won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? That's all I ever had in Adisa. In Adisa. In Adisa. Come, concrete, concrete. Thank you.
Malachi Smith. Give it up. Big time for Malachi Smith. So I'm going to do one last poem. It's a new poem. It's called The Poet and the Poem. And it hasn't really been edited yet. And I suspect it will go through some changes. The poet sat with her back to the poem as the poem wept. The poet was not being indifferent. They had not quarreled or had a falling out. Such were the times. The poet and the poem had had such fun together, laughing over the silliness of life, querying the vision of the rain, seeking the truth amidst the piles of lies, trying to fetter out the real meaning among the garbage of excuses politicians fed the people. But this was a new moment for the poet and the poem. They had not arrived at this intersection before, and neither was sure which direction to go. Perhaps it was Elegba, the old man with stars in his eyes, leading them down a perilous path. Or maybe it was Elegba, the mischievous boy, trying to trip them up and send them reeling on their heads down the ruined road. Whatever it was, both the poet and the poem knew it was a season of quiet reflection. The poet sat serenely, her back braced against the wall, while the perplexed poem bawled, pools of salty tears in which her feet tattered. The house had suddenly gone solemn, and when the poet listened, she realized the breeze had stopped its endless flirtation with the trees and leaves. Something was not right, or perhaps something was right, keeping with the latest technology, where even if you were apart from your mate or lover, you could still share a kiss, a virtual kiss, if you can imagine that. Were there tongues and saliva involved, the poet wondered, but the poem did not respond. But what of the sensation of tongue probing for lips pressed against teeth? No way! Suddenly the poem got up, and the poet was first forced to turn around in time to glimpse the poem just as it stepped out the room. The poet did not immediately follow the poem. She sat smugly assured the poem needed her, no matter their mutual dissatisfaction with one another. Theirs was not a relationship that could become uncoupled. Soon they would sit again in contemplation, sifting through a language as ubiquitous as the dawning of life. Soon enough they sat down quietly, the poet at her desk, the poem in her head. Language was not helping them to communicate, so they glanced out the window for inspiration as they often did. They saw the trees. Head formed an horizon, and beyond the trees the cloud formed yet another horizon. The poet breathed deeply. The world was not through with her. She was not through with the world. So the poem settled contentedly in the poet's head. Tomorrow there would be another song for them to write to free the diseases. They had to use new vowels to gap another gap. They had to swelter a new language to shield the people's soul. So that is that. I still have not seen Anne Margaret Lim. She had sent me an email to say that she was in WhatsApp, that she was trapped in traffic, but I have not seen her. I want to then do something which we hadn't planned, and that is to see if there are any poets who are on who would like to share a poem or who would like to say something about World Poetry Day and how poetry, their poetry or other poetry, have healed the world. So I want to give an opportunity for those who are online, if you want to unmute and to just say something briefly or to read a poem, if you have a poem at hand, I would like that to happen.
Yes, thank you. I would like to read one poem.
All right.
My name is Cassie Sengo, and I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. You know, sometimes I remember painting pictures which have no color, that shed no light on my childhood hour, that made me sick and sad and sour. I remember games of hate we sometimes played in a fine castle that chose my color to waste, that taught my sister to accept some fate to stand like a cheese alone, and hymns we sometimes sang. Remember how our voices rang in unison? Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy on we. And essays we wrote sometimes from memory could fill a book on foreign lands our bodies long to be, of days spent by the sea, surfing through waves of rubbish dumping, or how we spent our holidays golfing in snow that melted into dirt, rings of marbles pitching. At speeches I have sometimes heard a mockery made of the green verb. The Negro man got up to say, I sends my boy to the USA to return one day a CIA agent. Film indeed, a star boy in some film, a puppet on a string. Ah, star boy don't dead in any case, I now remembering. Sometimes I remember too, the future they planned for me and for you. Stillbirth in our mother's womb leads to a life of death inside their tomb. From this cemetery, the white liberty, heaven holds the master key for Black people trained to forget the past, the present, and the future yet. Yet, remember the drum and the whip that stung our fathers' toiling backs. Remember the daughters they raped from Mother Africa India under attack. Remember the day they took away the language of our race and pushed nigger coolie down our throats with cultures gone to waste. So what's in store for all of we? black freedom and black dignity. Rise up, my people, and set this whole world free. For that is our destiny. Remember. Thanks for the opportunity, Opal and Malachi. Thank you very much on this World
Thank
Poetry Day.
you. Word indeed. Word indeed. Thank you. I see another hand. Is that Peter Gracie?
How you doing? It is Peter Gracie. Nice
Okay.
seeing you guys. And I just want to say it's a beautiful moment because as I am here just frolicking in this as a poet myself and the new Global Jamaica Diaspora Council representative, I'm saying it's really a beautiful time for the 13 southern states that I represent because as a good friend in Malachi, you know, we have the opportunity now to spread poetry within the diaspora as me, myself, frolicking in poetry. You know, we have some strength, you know, and I want to say I'm open to any ideas that we can use to engage Jamaica and the diaspora through poetry, because that's what we do. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I do want to read a poem, but I just want to say, you know, there's no doubt that poetry has had a profound impact on our world in many ways. Like for centuries, poets have used, like yourself, you know, each one of us have used words to express our deepest emotions through and thoughts of humanity, and to reflect to reflect on the beauty and the tragedy of life. You know, we as poets, we know what our powers are. We know what our strengths are. And in short, poetry has helped heal the world by providing us with a window to the human soul, you know, and a way to connect with one another through language and shared experience, whether it's through work of established poets or the writings that's just everyday people. You know, poetry has the power to heal wounds, soothe pains, and inspire change. And a poem I want to read is a poem called "I Am," and it's to empower women that has felt that they have been through something so profound, their soul has been damaged. I am delicate and pathetic. You are in the eyes of those who take advantage of your weakness. Gentle and kind you were, but your love overshadowed the translation of fear. You cried for help and no one heard. You cried out for mercy, but the frequency of your voice was blurred. You shouted with all your heart in silence, and the tears followed through like a desert begging for a single mist. Your physical wounds are easily repaired, but your emotional scars can never be reestablished. Who can reinstate that passionate you? Who can restore your scars with fervent adorations? Where did your self-esteem go? And who can dry your internal tears? Who can hear your lonely cries at nights? And who can rescue your hopeless mentions? Despairing and depressed when you remember the screams and the wailing of your soul. But in you, my sister, there is something that was lost and has never been told. It's that Pandora box of strength that you pull from deep within your womb and come to significant terms with self that your past must never and can never be exhumed. All is in control now when you smile, when you reminisce the scars, because I see you as a resistor and you are the great I am by far. You now say to yourself, I am the strongest one. You now say to yourself, I am the control of my world. I am a strong woman. You now say to yourself, I am the giver of life. I had to endure that bitter hatred so I can teach a better life. I am the full circle. I have the power to nurture. I am the power to create and navigate myself to a better and more contented future. I am stronger than I was before, and I am the challenger of the world through my eyes. I am the great forgiver of sins, and no more will I cry. I am the strongest creation. No more will I cry, because I am love. I am resilient. I am woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Very powerful. All right, with your feminine self. We have two other, so that was, let us big it up for the Honorable Peter Gracie. Thank you so much for joining us and for your message and for wanting to use poetry to reach out to the various constituencies that you are a part of. And certainly people will reach out to you to say how we can help to make something else happen. We have two other poets before we close. Dr. Marcia Smallin, your hand was up next, so I want to give you an opportunity to share.
I would just like to say Dr. Marsha Smalling is a principal for Glenmore High School, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. This really wasn't planned at all, but thanks, Malichi, for extending the invitation. Today was a rough day for me, but I placed it in my itinerary and said, I just want to be a part of this. I have been listening in and just really blessed. I see poetry as therapy for me, and just very quickly to share how I started to write poems myself. So back in 2001, I started teaching in the primary system. I'm trained to be a secondary teacher. But there was a school next door to me, and so I opted to go to the primary school instead. And of course, they were participating in the JCDC speech competition, and I wanted them to be a part of it. And so there was an established anthology that they would use. And we went to the competition, and I remember we practiced a number of pieces. And for some of them, I remember the judges' comments were, I think the interpretation of this one is off. And so we went back to the drawing board and I said, listen, students, let me write my own poems. Then we can't hear the interpretation is wrong or off. And that's where it all started. And now for me, it really is therapy. At the end of a very hectic day, some persons say, why write? I mean, I wouldn't want to see a computer or anything, but I find that I just immerse myself into words and it brings peace to me. So
Did
this
you
one
have
that
a
I will
poem to share? Because we have two other persons that we would like to get in.
okay.
So
Right,
we'd
sure.
love to hear one of your poems, yes.
Okay, so this one is titled, I Believe. I saw, tasted, and danced with death, but God. I've experienced unimaginable pain, but God. I've received ridicule as a reward for pouring into people, but God. I've experienced loneliness for being authentically me, but God. My imperfections are indiscriminately scoffed at, but God. My faith fades ever so often, but God. Dreams deferred, opportunities oppressed, but God. I am because of God. I won't stop believing. I'll keep on achieving. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to end with two other poets, I think. Steve Ferguson, please go ahead. And then we have Anika Rowe and Lyle Armstrong. So three poets, please keep it brief. We're glad to hear your voices.
Thank you so much. Good evening. To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness, lady, were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find, I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow. 100 years should go to praise thine eyes, and on thy forehead gaze, 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest. An age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For, lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at lower rate. But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Then worms shall try that long preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The graves are fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Now therefore, while the youthful hue sits on thy skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now, like amorous birds of prey, rather at once our time devour, than languish in his slow-chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife through the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our sun stand still, yet we will make him run. Good night.
Thank you, Steve Ferguson. And now we'll have Anika Rowe.
Good evening, everyone, and happy World Poetry Day. This poem that I'll be sharing was written based on reflections on the inaugural Louise Bennett Coverley Festival, which was staged last year, October 15, 2022. Jamaica's inaugural Miss Lou Festival. Festival for Miss Lou, a big sing thing. Upper Garden Town, the first setting, the inaugural event. Heroes Weekend 2022, mama, auntie, picnic, everybody head for the Miss Lou Square. People from country to town, local and foreign, Canada, Portland, or pastors all around. The meritone of ska, reggae, swept through the air. The whole nation a dance to the carefree rhythm to celebrate Miss Lou. Thank you, everyone. This forum is a work in progress, but I am happy for this forum to be able to share this World Poetry event share this poem rather at this World Poetry Day event. Happy World Poetry Day.
Thank you, Anika. And we'll end with Lyle, and then Malika and I will say some closing remarks.
Good evening, everyone. This is called Ode to Amar and Others. I did not know the 18-year-old budding footballer, but I cried. The fact that he was murdered, I cried. That he was going to take his family out of poverty, I cried. Sharing a mother's grief, I cried. And what of the 3-year-old baby girl shot in her head in her bed, I cried too. For 11-year-old Sue, prepping for PEP As the bullet came through, I cried. For the Clarendon mother and her 4-2, at the hands of someone they all knew, I cried. For the hundreds of the others so senselessly slain, for my country where crime is deeply ingrained. But tears is a language God understands, as we try to decipher man's inhumanity to man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I just really want, let's just big up each other, right? Let's just big up each other. You know, I had said to Malachi, let's do something for World Poetry Day, because oftentimes, you know, there are these platforms and these organizations, and we as a Caribbean, we as Jamaicans need to show up. And so I'm so glad you've shown up. Thank you so much. Thank you particularly to all the poets who said yes in a very short time span. And thank you to Judith who set up the Zoom and all of these other kinds of technology thing that makes us work. And what this says to me is that we're all on this journey about healing and about bigging up each other. And World Poetry Day simply just provided the platform for that. But certainly what I see, and Malachi might speak briefly on that too, is that there's really a need for us to come together as poets, to create a theme and to read and share what we're thinking with each other. And so maybe there will be a momentum for this to happen. I edit the journal Interview in the Caribbean that is published twice a year, and that also will serve as a forum, and Malachi will tell you very briefly about what he's doing. Ruth, are you still on? Ruth is my partner in advocacy. And Ruth, can you tell them about the demonstration that we're going to be having on Thursday?
Okay, no problem. So Thursdays in black are peaceful protests where you wear full black on the day as a symbol of solidarity with survivors of gender-based violence. So on Thursday, March 23, we're going to be at Matilda's Corner from 9 a.m. in the morning till 12 p.m. We'll be bearing placards and standing in peaceful protest. What we normally do is engage persons who are passing by in discussions about gender-based violence, violence against women and girls, and why we as Jamaicans have to stop this culture of violence against our women and against our girls. Hoping you all will.
Thanks, Ruth. And I want to say that, you know, ultimately we want to end all violence, because if all violence ends, and gender-based violence is going to end. And, you know, when I started Thursday in Black, it was to make sure that women and girls were very much targeted. We also know that some men are targeted, and, you know, we want to help victims as well as perpetrators, because we don't want it to continue. We want this healing to happen for all of us. So that's my closing remark. Again, I want to thank you. It's a fitting way for us in Jamaica and the larger Caribbean to celebrate World Poetry Day. And I turn it over to Malachi.
Thank you so much, Opal, and to all of you who took the time out to join us this evening. And what we're witnessing in real time is the ability of our wordsmith to heal, entertain, and educate in real time. And I would love for us to find a way, Opal and others in Jamaica know that, and I'm very particular about Jamaica. I know what kind of thing is happening all over the world, but I always say when I read the Bible, I don't see anything about Jamaica in there. It's about Egypt and Israel and all kind of thing happen over there. So Jamaica to me has a way to go. And I'm feeling and I'm seeing that the poets need to step up and become the conscience of that little piece of rock. We need to agitate, to start stepping on some corn and call for that kind of healing and cohesiveness and bringing our people together by utilizing the word. And we need to go in the highways and the byways, and we need to go into the schools and reach the students and show them a different way, show them the joy of life. Let them know how good it is to touch a leaf, to smell a rose, right? to start respecting each other. And I believe our poetry, when I listen to my brother, Wise Word, and when we go on the school tour and I listen to a Cherry Natural, Antonia Valier, and Charlie Bubbles, and the way their poetry in time ministers to needs of the student and how they come alive in real time. And that is what I want to see our poets doing more of. Don't get so much caught up into what the society is not doing for poets and who is not doing this for poets. Step out there and do it, right? Command that space. That is what I want to see more of. We realize that the politician, realize what the Don is doing. We have a unique opportunity. Poets, wordsmith, we have a unique opportunity to start stitching this quilt of togetherness. Let us come together with this message of healing, of upliftment. Let's educate and entertain and bring some peace and justice and harmony to our country and people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if everyone now will unmute and we will all say, in whether in unison or in whatever way, at the count of 3, poetry or my poetry is helping to heal the world, or poetry heals the world, or anything you want to add, Mr. Smiley Man there. So 1, is everybody unmute? And let's just the voice lift up in unison that we are healing the world. 1, 2, 3.
Poetry is healing the world.
Happy Poetry Day.
Poetry is healing
Happy
the world.
Poetry Day. Happy Poetry Day.
Happy
Yeah.
Poetry Day.
More work.
Everyone. And so this will be on YouTube,
All the blessings to
and
you.
you'll be able to share it. And so I want to just again extend tremendous thanks to all of you for signing on and for being here, and for all of you who didn't read, who've been with us for the entire time. Thank you so much.